Okay, welcome everybody to episode 19 of Into the River podcast. I'm very excited to introduce Dave. He is the host of the Flat Earth podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Ashley. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
I'm so excited. So this is all very new to me. Just to start off, I do want to let you know, since we're on video, I have my Flat Earth mug.
Oh, nice.
and
Beautiful.
it and it does say if the earth was flat, then cats would have pushed things off of it. But
Funny meme. Funny meme that people love
funny
using.
meme.
Yeah.
So before we start, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I'm just a normal guy. I grew up on the East Coast here in the USA, and I went to college, worked in corporate America, started my own company, was doing really well, and I discovered the flat Earth. Came out of I was doing a conspiracy podcast, and people started suggesting flat Earth, and I banned them from our social media for being so stupid. And finally, I was forced to look, and I went in trying to debunk it. And here I am. I quit my own company. I do this full time because, as we'll get to by the end of this interview, this is the most important message ever. When you introduce flat Earth to them, they argue, they defend something that they don't even know what they're defending. And then they're like, well, what difference does it make? It makes all the difference in the world. If you don't know who you are, where you are, what you are, you're lost in space, and you give up your own power. So this is the most important topic of our time.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to hear about it. Why is it that you think people do get so angry? Because I've noticed that too.
Well, it's because we were taught about the Earth being a globe before we could even talk. The parents put us in front of television programming, tell lie vision programming. Sesame Street was all about the globe, and that they had astronauts on Walt Disney, and everything is globe propaganda once you see it. So the foundation of your world belief, is built on a sphere. It's on a spinning globe. And when you try to rip out someone's foundation, where are your parents alive? Your parents are alive. You just told me that they're becoming flat earthers. What if I told you right now that your parents in the 80s, 70s and 80s were serial killers, and they killed at least a dozen people a week each, and then they ate their hearts, right? You'd have a hard time dealing with that. You wouldn't even let me show you any evidence, probably. Right? You'd be like, no, because that's going to ruin your entire world. Your subconscious is like, no, don't look at this information. Don't. It's going to change everything. And that's what happens when you tell people the Earth is flat, because we've been programmed to just not believe, to think it's the dumbest thing ever. So the funny thing is, there's a channel called Wits It Gets It. Have you found him yet, Austin? He's been he's been streaming on Globebusters activism and Wits. I think the name of his channel is Wits It Gets It, but I'll send you a link on that. But he's been going around doing what I do, but out in the public square. He gets his microphone, his speaker, Washington Square Park, wherever he is. And he's been spewing the truth, and people start, oh, flat Earth, you're an idiot, And what the thing is, he goes, okay, I've got $100. He's traveling all across the country. He's been out for almost a half a year. I got $100 if you can answer 3 simple questions about the globe. And the first one is, how many times does the globe spin in a day? In 24 hours? Do you know the answer?
I don't.
It's once. It's just once. The Earth spins around. You knew that, but you didn't put it together. People that defend the globe have no idea. They don't know this is what they believe. They think the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour, chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour, while that entire system moves sideways at over 1 million miles per hour. This is what they're defending. They have no idea. And then they think that the flat Earth is something like you just, that meme you just showed of cats would push everything off. Their idea of what flat Earth is ridiculous. This is not flat Earth. Okay. There it is, right on your mug. Okay. This is what they want you to think flat Earth is. So any conscious, aware, smart mind will go, this is the stupidest thing ever. Right. We're not a disc floating in space. So if we're not a disk floating in space, what are we? And the way I describe it is we're the basement of the universe. We're the foundation of this realm that we live in, whatever it is. It's an extended plane, and we live in a pond within that within that plane. I can never say that. All of the islands, all the continents are surrounded by water, but all of the water needs a container. Well, that container is the land that we call Antarctica. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. It's the container of our pond. Okay. If you're going to take a bath and I snap my fingers and the bathtub disappeared, what happens to the water? It's gone, right?
Right. Yeah.
If you were going to swim in a lake and I snap my fingers and all of the surrounding shoreline disappeared, what happens to the water? It goes away. It just goes. Well, Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. We live in the Antarctic basin. Okay. 71% of the water of the Earth is water, they tell us. Large bodies of water at rest, lay flat, testably, scientifically, provably flat. And, how much flat ocean does it take to make a sphere? The answer is we're not a sphere. The water is surrounded by Antarctica. We live in this pond. What's out here in this outer space? What's out there? We don't know because it's off limits to everybody. Nobody is allowed to go beyond this pink line, which is 60 degrees south. You can't even see Antarctica from there, right? You can take very expensive, $10, $20, $30,000, maybe more, to go to a couple days, and they'll take you to this peninsula. They'll show you some penguins. They'll show you some icebergs, and then they'll kick you out. They won't let you explore independently because what's out here? Well, the answer to the world that we live in is out there, and they don't want us to know.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating. So yeah, for everyone listening, I am looking at, what would you call it? A map basically of the Earth. And so this will also be linked down below where you can go watch and see all of these visuals just if you're listening. Yeah. But so what got you into, so what made you start to shift your paradigm?
Well, I was doing a podcast where we were looking into lots of the deceptions in the world. Excuse me. And people said, "Hey, Dave, have you looked into flat Earth?" And I laughed at that. And I'm like, "Oh, come on." And then finally, I was really tired of hearing it. And then somebody I respect very much said, "David, I think the Earth might be flat." And I'm like, "Oh, not you too." And she sent me some videos, and I started watching them. Just like, let me see what this nonsense is about. And I was like, that's interesting. And I started watching more and more and more. And the thing is, where do you get your information from? YouTube? YouTube is a source of information, misinformation, disinformation, factual information, nonsense. It's all there. It's just like life. There's all sorts of information all around, right? And so you have to discern it for yourself. But a lot of people put together a lot of work. We put together, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of informational videos about the world that we live in, questions that you might never have asked yourself. So I started looking into it. And I started looking into it, not like you, open-mindedly. I looked into it going, I'm going to disprove this crap. I'm going to disprove this. I'm going to prove the globe and shut all these dumb flat earthers up. And that's how you become a flat earther, because once you understand the ridiculousness of the heliocentric spinning model, it's unbelievable. You wonder, how did I ever believe that? And the answer is because you believed, you never checked.
Well, it caught me on a good year, and I'm still not sure where I'm at with it. But as far as open-minded, that's a real thing, because this last year I kind of woke up to a lot of realities thanks to what's been going down in our world. And it's made me in a much more open position as far as I'm willing to listen and hear things out. And I also am very aware that we've been lied to about pretty much everything we've been told our whole life. So why not about the shape of the Earth? And literally, we've been watching the sunset every night. Like, what is going on? Asking more questions and not. I don't know if you've heard of the What on Earth Happened. Is that the series? It's like
you are on. It's not so. I have the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. I featured all of his videos on there. They're actually a permanent fixture in the app. Do you have my app yet?
No, I don't, but I will.
Know about it. We'll go over that in a little bit, because I'm going to show you a couple of things on it that will really help you learn about flat Earth. If you Google, so the What on Earth Happened and the history of flat Earth. Have you watched that yet? That's his
No.
first series. Unbelievable. So my YouTube channel, DITRH, it's the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. A long video for me is 5 minutes. Okay. I do short videos because I know people time. I can't listen to all that stuff. And so I'm all about, let me just give you little bits of stuff to get you interested, because to get somebody to watch a 2-hour movie or an hour, even an hour, is like, I'm not watching that. That's nonsense, right? Oh, I'll watch a 5-minute video. You watch one of my videos, you go, let me watch another one. Let me watch another one. And it's like a crack dealer. I just give you a little bit, just give you a little more, and then you become addicted, and then you'll start watching the long stuff. Well, when Warrenon's video came out, the history of flat Earth is 5 hours. And I say, someone sent it to me. I'm like, I'm not watching that. And then another person sent it to me. I'm like, it's too long. And then like 10 more people send it to me. And I'm like, all right, let me watch 10 minutes of this. And I watched 10 minutes. And I was like, let me watch 10 more minutes. And I said, okay, there's 7 parts in this 5-hour video. I'm just going to watch one part at a time. I couldn't turn it off. Okay. I started at 10 o'clock at night. I finished it at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And I've watched it 3 more times since then. Okay. Mind-blowing stuff about, and it gets into Tartaria. It gets into what was here before. Again, all of that stuff's tied into the app, but we'll get into that.
No, and I'll plug all that stuff below. So can you explain what I'm looking at on the screen behind you?
So what you're looking at here is a possibility, okay? So what it is, we live here in this Middle Earth, right? Think of Lord of the Rings. Then we have this ring around us, which is Antarctica. And perhaps beyond Antarctica are other oceans with other lands. So what these would be other territories, more territory. Another word for more would be extra land, extra terra, okay? So if somebody lived out here and they came to visit you in the inner space, you might say they're coming from they're an extraterrestrial from outer space, right? Across our Earth plane. And there's a couple stories. There's one you can get the book, or on YouTube. It's called, somebody read the book. It's called The Iron Republic. Also, the book is available. You can actually buy the actual physical book. It's called The Iron Republic. And it's about a story about I believe it was a senator from New York in the 1800s that retired, got a ship and crew and went to Antarctica, and he found a little opening, and he went through the opening and then they were lost at sea for like a month. And then they came across some land, and there was people came out in the boat and greeted them like, where are we? Like, you're at the Iron Republic. And he's like, where's that? It's like, well, we're from America. And he's like, well, the Iron Republic is on the other side of the Antarctic ice wall, but equidistant from like that you are on the other side. And they didn't quite understand. And this was, they went and this guy wrote a series of articles on it. And they were talking about flat screens, electric cars, anti-gravitics, all sorts of technology that they had there. And the story was that the people that lived there, there was tyranny happening in the 1600s, and they left and they moved to the outer lands, to the extra terra. And they didn't like the tyranny. Could you imagine tyranny going on in this inner space? Imagine that. Maybe the reason, so that and the all the technology they're talking about, it's stuff that we're just learning about now. Computers. I mean, we're way into computers, but it's very, very, very interesting story. But again, it's just a story. These are possibilities. We're not allowed out there, and that should make you really wonder what the heck is going on out there.
Well, I like that you brought up the possibilities. So there's certain things that you believe, and then and I've noticed this with other people in the community, and then there's certain things that you're like, well, we don't completely know. So you're not fixed on one specific model, correct?
Absolutely, 100%. So flat earthers, there's lots of, some people think there's a physical dome. Some people think there's an energetic dome. Some people don't think there's a dome at all. Some people think that the earth goes on and there's other puddles out there. Some people think that there's rings around us. Some people think that this is all that there is. Some people think that there's, I believe that there's water above us and there is some sort of dome. I don't know the shape of that dome, but one thing that we all agree on is that we don't live on a spinning ball flying through an infinite space vacuum. That's impossible. That's impossible. And when you start looking at what they tell us, the best way to become a flat earther is to try to prove the globe. And when you look at all of the nonsense there, I'm showing you a video here that a soldier took in Afghanistan, and you can clearly see the sun is just moving away. But as Paul McCartney says, the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, but the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. This is super sped up. This sun is not going down. It's clearly going away. And you can see this in many different areas of the world at different times of the year. But when you watch the sun, when you watch the sunset from ground level, you see it moving away, but it looks like it's going down due to perspective. And then the clouds merge with the horizon, and the sun just goes beyond the clouds, and it looks like it's setting from the bottom up. But when in fact it's not, it's just moving away, and it's an optical thing. Let me show you a quick a demonstration here. This is I did in my Flat Earth kitchen. I'll describe what's going on. I have a line parallel with the counter, and I'm moving a artificial sun, this little light here, across the line, showing you that the line is going, that the sun is moving straight and level. The camera is at the same height as the line, so we see it going level. And then we have this obstacle here. This could be the cloud deck or a mountain, doesn't matter, but the sun is above it. So now I'm going to show you the same thing from the counter's point of view from the other side. And you look at this line, it looks like the line's going down, but that's the same level line. And it's just the way our eyes work. And then it goes behind that mountain, which kind of looks like it's at eye level, but we saw that the sun never really went below that mountain. It's just going away. And if you look at this line right now, zoomed in, it looks like it's almost going straight down, but that's a level line. This is how our eyes see. Here's a real sunset. Here's my sunset. And watch the sun setting, but what's it setting behind over here? It's not setting behind this optical horizon. It's setting behind this cloud horizon. But when this is zoomed in, you can't see that from when you're watching the sunset. It looks like it's setting behind a horizon. It's just moving away.
That was actually one of my questions, because I've been watching the sunset. Like, it doesn't look like it's going further away, but I never thought about the ground perspective. So that is actually fascinating, and I hope everyone watches that.
Yeah, and again, there's times when you watch the sunset over water, there's always a layer of thick atmosphere, moisture, and that'll create a cloud deck. The clouds will just all merge together, and then when the sun just goes away, it looks like it's setting below it, but it's really not. It's setting up. But when on a super clear day, and I can do this on the East Coast looking west over the land, it has to be below freezing, zero humidity, super clear. I got my drone up at as high as I can get it, and I'm filming the sun, and I watch the sun, and in 5 minutes time, it went down, 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 and it should just keep on going if the earth is spinning, but it didn't. It went down, 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 and then it stopped, and it sat here for 10 minutes. This is sped up 2,500%, okay? And then it just faded away into the thickness of the atmosphere. Okay, here it is again. It just faded away. It sat there for 10 minutes, and then it faded away.
You took that?
What's that? I filmed this 7 different times. And people say, well,
wow,
how come no one else has filmed this? Well, other people have filmed it. They just didn't know that they filmed it. But it has to be freezing cold, no humidity, super clear. You have to film it in 4K. And then the sun has already disappeared, but because it's so small, but you have to zoom in to see what's actually going on. So how many other people have filmed it? I don't know. Maybe not many, because no one's crazy as me. You got a drone out there in a freezing cold, filming a sunset long after it looks like it's set. My friends at the beach saw the sun set 10 minutes earlier from the bottom up, because they're looking out over 10 miles of water, and there's trees up on a hill, but the tops of those trees look like they're at their eye level. Everything compresses. So the sun is just going behind those trees and setting like that. Okay. And so this isn't a real horizon. This is an optical horizon, but the sun just goes away. Light can't travel forever. So people say, well, how come, if the sun is, how come I can't see Mount Everest? How come I can't see Europe? And the answer is several things. One, things get really small over distance, but the atmosphere is thick. It's like looking across a swimming pool You can't see the far side of the pool because even though the water's clear, it's just thick. The air is the same thing. This is a spot we're looking from Alusia, France. You can go do this yourself. And it's looking out over the mountain, over the ocean, and Mount Canigou is out here 175 miles away, but you can't see it because 175 miles from this altitude, the top of Mount Canigou should be a mile below the curve. Okay. But on 2
How many miles away?
It's 175 miles. The top of the mountain, according to Globe Mass, should be a mile below the curve. But there's the top of the mountain. A couple days a year when the sun lines up with this mountain, it backlights the mountain and you can see it. The sunlight bouncing off the mountain, lighting it up, coming to your eyes, isn't strong enough to push through that atmosphere, but the sun is much brighter. The sun can push through, and when it backlights the mountain, you can see that it's here. It's not a mirage. The only excuse the globe has is that, oh, the sun already set. It's well below the horizon. That mountain is a mile below, the top of that mountain's a mile below the horizon, but it's just refracting up and stopping at eye level. It's just stopping at eye level. And I say, cool story, bro. Okay. Dumbest thing.
That doesn't make any sense.
Right. Thank you. None of it makes sense. And when you start looking at it, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Okay. So I was asking my boyfriend yesterday because we are lucky enough to live in a place where we can see 100 miles away from our house. So we can see, I'm in Central California. So we are somewhere north of Bakersfield, but we can see the mountains by the coast almost. And we're about 100 miles away from those mountains. And I was telling him yesterday, like, can you go into that kind of distance, what I should see? Because I see these mountains and they're not like giant Rockies mountains. You know what I mean?
Right. So the at 100 miles, there should be 6,600 feet of curvature. Okay. There should be 6,000 feet of drop below the horizon. So for something 100 miles away, it would have to be well over a mile tall for you just to see the top of it. Okay.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing is you look at things and like, hey, the bottom's kind of missing. Why am I not seeing the bottom? Right. And it's all optics. This is Skunk Bay during the day. This isn't the tide going up and down. This is just the optics of the day because the beach disappears, the buildings disappear. There's buildings here. Right. And it has to do just with the humidity and the way we see. So the optics, the earth isn't flexing back and forth. This is just the optics. There's tall buildings here, and then they'll disappear. And a glober will go, oh, that's because it's curvature, right? That's curvature, and that's not the case at all. When you're looking out over water, a lot of strange things happen. There's the atmospheric blocking, I call it. There's compression. And there's, sometimes a little wave in the foreground can block out 20 stories of a building in the background because the building is getting smaller, but the wave is here and still remains the same size. So as it goes away, it gets smaller and you lose some of it. Here's a building. Kind of looks like the bottom's cut off behind the curve. But if you look, all of these terraces are the same height, but you can see they're getting compressed. So they're getting compressed to the point where they're all just compressed into the horizon. It's the way our eyes work. The angular resolution limits of your eyes. Things lower have a smaller angular size. Things higher have a bigger angle. But everything gets compressed in the horizon. And then these little waves here in the foreground are blocking out all the rest of the compression here. So I don't know if there's 5 or 10 or 20 stories below this or only 2. It just has to do with compression and the way our eyes work. This building isn't tilted over behind a C curve. C is level.
No, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So what are some of the strongest arguments that you get against it?
Against the flat earth? None.
Like the toughest ones.
Yeah, the toughest one is you're a moron and you live in your mother's basement. That's the best argument they have. Okay. You're a flurf. The globe has been proven. There's no proof of flat earth. There's a million proofs of the globe. Well, I'm offering 3 Bitcoins because the price is reduced. 3 Bitcoins for 1 proof of the globe. There's none. Okay,
Well,
none.
and I heard that there's zero pictures of the actual Earth from space,
That is,
except, you know what I
well,
mean?
globe believers will defend as going, there are pictures. You're an idiot. Well, NASA even admits there are no pictures of Earth. Like, what do you mean? I had the picture
Really?
on my iPhone, right? And Robert Simmons is the NASA visual artist that made the blue marble. He explained how he made it in Photoshop. Okay. He just gets
Mhm.
data and he's like, well, I added this, I added a specular highlight, I added clouds. You know, when he added clouds, he was lazy. He stepped and repeated the same clouds again and again and again. Okay. So it's made in Photoshop. And then a few years later, they come out with another picture. What's wrong with this picture? What's wrong? United States is twice the size. And on this one, it's tilted back. Like here's the size of the United States. I tilt it back, it should get smaller. It's bigger than this, right?
Yeah.
People say, well, that might not be, you might be zoomed in and you're not really seeing the edges. That's a bunch of nonsense. That's ridiculous, because we can measure some things. So like we can't go to space, so measuring that would be difficult. But what we can do is we could drive across Mexico and go across the bay and across Baja and say, hey, that's 934 miles. We could scientifically prove that because we're here on Earth. 934 miles from Baja across Mexico. Okay. Well, here's 934 miles, and I made a little box. NASA tells us the diameter of the Earth is 7,917 miles. Well, I should be able to fit 8.5 of these in between these two red lines. Does that look like I could fit 8.5 of those in between? Okay.
No.
This is a painting. This is a painting. And it's not even a good painting, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. When you go
Yeah.
up even just to 100,000 feet, the Earth loses all of its color, all of its definition. You're not going to see an Earth like that. You're going to see an Earth like this. This is actual balloon footage from 120,000 feet. And what we can see is a very close local sun lighting up a local area, right? You don't see like the clouds that they show you in photos, in these alleged photos of Earth are ridiculous. I mean, this cloud here is as wide as the United States. Do you think a cloud could be that big? A single
No.
cloud? Okay. It's
That's
all
true.
it's
That's a good
it's
point.
it's all nonsense. All of this is cartoons. Cartoons. We won't say this out loud. All of this is
Yeah.
cartoons. They're controlling our minds with cartoons.
I absolutely believe that they are. I know that they are. And one thing that got me, that made me, I don't know why it made me kind of emotional, was when in that documentary they were talking about the rainbow.
Oh yeah.
And it's something that's like, I'm always fascinated by rainbows, and it made so much sense to me when they did that rainbow demonstration. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Which was the what's the demonstration they did? I've seen so many videos lately. It's where they're talking about how to make a rainbow and how you have to have the
What?
firmament.
Yeah, and the different shapes in the firmament, and how the dome changes and creates the shape of the rainbow that we see.
Absolutely, you need a reflecting surface. They tell us that it's the prism of the water molecules. No, the water molecules in the air. That's just the screen. Okay, the rainbow's always there. You just need to put a screen there to see it, and that's when you have a fog or a mist, and that's why you see a rainbow like that. Um, the reason that you got emotional is because your soul, which is the spark of God that lives within you, you're here to expand the mind of the creator. That's my belief. It knows the truth of this world, but your mind, your consciousness has been taken over by the television programming and all of the lies. And you're here trying to figure it out, but they've trapped us with movies. It's all the movies. There's lies in the news, truth in movies, but they've brainwashed us to believe nonsense. So your soul is trying to speak to you, but when you see something like that, your soul is like, yes, and that's why you got emotional.
Well, there's a different feeling for sure, because there's this idea of being just randomly space floating and not knowing anything around us. And then this idea that we are more important, that we are the center of the universe. And it does change your perspective. And after watching that, I did go and look in the Bible because I recall the
Page
verse
one.
about the firmament.
Start page 1. It's right
Seriously.
there in
And
Genesis.
I was like, I was raised in the church, and I'm like, this was never talked about or explained to me. And right here it says that God separated the waters from the waters.
Let me.
And I would love for you to discuss more of the firmament, if you don't mind.
So what is the flat Earth? I believe that we have a dome, that we live in this pond. I believe that space is actually liquid. And if you listen to all the stuff NASA says, everything they talk about is nautical terms: the Sea of Tranquility, the starships, the docking, ships docking. It's all nautical terms. I don't believe anyone's going to space. No one's ever gone to space, because space isn't what they say it is. They've been trying to break through the firmament. But the dome, I believe that the dome, this is my belief, the dome attaches to the high mountains in the outer lands of Antarctica. It comes down to that point. That's my belief. Maybe it goes on beyond that. Again, I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody of us common folk know. So what's out there? What's it made out of? I don't know. But I don't believe anyone has gotten through it yet. But if you listen to Hillary Clinton, she's saying, we're going to break through that hardest glass ceiling. We've got cracks in it. They're trying to break God's creation. If you look at the Disney logo, it's about the Tower of Babel. The top of the Disney building is poking through the dome. Okay. And, you watch any NASA rocket, SpaceX, they go up, they curve out, and they go out, because they can't go all the way up, and they'll never.
Oh, absolutely. Every single video from space, you can see the bubbles from the water. Have you seen the ones where they're holding objects that all accidentally disappear?
Yeah.
And then they reappear in their hands? I mean, if you watch those NASA videos, there you go.
So she's got a ball that's filled with helium. It's a real ball, but this is not real. Watch, I'll show it again. This is not real.
Yeah.
He even beamed it in. And so she's playing with it. It's called augmented reality, right? They're moving. She either has contacts in or is looking at a screen behind the camera, and she's maneuvering objects. It's just green screen technology that they use. It's very simple, and they're really bad at it. They're horrible at it, as a matter of fact.
They really are. I saw the one where the guy keeps grabbing something, but it didn't appear in the scene, so it just looks ridiculous. But those are things people just don't notice.
Yeah. You want this one where the guy in the blue is supposed to pass him his hat, but before he does, they had this guy float by in the background, and you could barely see him. He just floats by, just for more realism. Zoom in, and one of the layers wasn't working, and you could see his harness in the wire. All right, this guy's clearly hanging from a harness. Okay. So this guy in the blue they're always flipping the microphone and their hat around, and they're virtual reality objects. They're not real. And so he's supposed to hand them his hat, but he made a hand motion, and the guy thought he was handing him the hat, and he screwed up. Watch, it's going to show it in 2 seconds. So there's his hat, and he's going to take his right hand, and he's going to move it, and the guy thinks he's passing him the hat, but he didn't. And by this is flipped back and forth. He's not doing it again. Watch. He moves his right hand. Ready? Moves his hand. And he thought he was passing him the hat. And the guy's like, oh, that's my cue to put the hat away. And now it's just looped. And the guy, and he realizes it. And then this guy freaks out. He doesn't know what to do. They were stumbling on their words, and they're trying to just move forward. And then NASA pulled the video, but we already downloaded it. You watch his eyes, he's swallowing hard. It's unbelievable. Here's the thing.
It's funny to laugh at, but it's infuriating.
NASA fakes one thing. They're faking everything. They got a fresh lemon on the spaceship. Watch it. His hand goes right through the lemon. It's not a real lemon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
And they use different techniques. Sometimes they're doing 0G. Sometimes it's green screen. Sometimes it's pure CGI. They mix it all together so nobody can figure out what the heck is going on. But
Kubrick admitted that he, did a lot of the filming and then felt bad about it and put all of that symbolism in The Shining, kind of
100%
revealing the lies. I mean, it's hard to believe that any of this would be true. You know what I mean? There's too much evidence against it. But I don't know. A lot of people say that it's frustrating to have people look up to explain the ground. So instead of focusing a ton on the moon or the sun, like let's go into gravity, because I know that's a big one for a lot of people. And I did ask some people on my Instagram, and that was a question that came up about, they actually said, do you know that gravity is the result of a vacuum caused by rotation? What are your thoughts?
I've never even heard of that. That sounds insane. Gravity.
I hadn't heard of that yet.
Yeah, that they don't even know what they're talking about. They're making stuff out. People just make stuff up to defend their belief. So gravity due to mass is a made up invention. They need it for their heliocentric nonsense. Here's the problem: gravity is just a theory. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the high priest of scientism himself, says, I don't know what it is. We don't know. He's like, watch him. Just Google Neil deGrasse Tyson gravity, and he'll be talking about, he says he doesn't know what it is. Then they have to make up, 96% of gravity is dark matter and dark energy that we can't see, test, or prove, but it has to be there because gravity wouldn't work without it. This is what they say. Okay. Right. So I put on my my cool story glasses. Okay, gravity. You need 96% of it's made up, and it doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work. So the official story of the heliocentric model is nothing exploded and became everything. All right, I'll give you that. That's ridiculous, but sure, have it. And then all of the rocky bits started collecting together and got more and more gravitational. So they started pulling in more bits and they started spinning. But then all of the gases, all of the helium and hydrogen started coalescing into bigger balls. Okay. And it collected so much that it became these massive burning balls that were holding on to the other planets. Okay. This is ridiculous. Right. The Earth, the sun is holding on to the Earth and Mars and Venus and Jupiter and Saturn, not in that order, but whatever. But somehow our planet can hold on to the moon, and the sun doesn't rip the moon away or affect its orbit. Or when all of the planets line up, nothing gets perturbed. Everything just perfectly rotates, when that's impossible. You can't even model it. There's a thing called the three-body problem, and that's where scientists can put together a model and say, all right, you have your giant planet, your giant sun, and your planets, and you can put them in you can put like two objects in a computer simulation and say, okay, we got a sun and we got an Earth, and they're going around each other, and they can model it perfectly. You can predict where it's going to be next week, next year, in 10 years, whatever. It works perfectly. Add one moon or one more planet into that model, and the entire thing goes into chaos mode, and no computer in the world can figure out what it's going to do next. But somehow, with all of our planets and all of the moons and all of the asteroids and everything and all of the alignments, everything just works like a perfect clock. Okay? That is absolute insanity. So what is gravity if that's not it? What causes things to go down? And there's a little bit of argument in the flat Earth realms. Some people say it's just buoyancy and density. If I had a helium balloon and a golf ball and a ping pong ball and a rock in my hand, and I held it over a pool and I let it go, the ping pong ball is going to go up. Everything else is going to go down. Does the golf ball float? Maybe the golf ball will float. The rocks will go to the bottom, and the ping pong balls will sit on the top of the water. And that's just everything sorting itself out to relative buoyancy and density. Makes perfect sense. The balloon goes up because the air is heavier and it's pushing it up. Okay. But why do things go down? Down is down for me. Down is down for you. Down is down for somebody in Australia. Down is not up for them. Down is down for everybody. The Earth is the foundation of our world. It does not move. Okay. And the Earth has a testable, measurable negative charge to it. I believe the dome has a positive charge and the Earth has a negative charge. It's not moving. And it has an incoherent, I'm losing my words. I think it's called incoherent dielectric plane. Maybe I got that wrong, but that negative charge, as you lift off the earth, there's voltage in the air. At 1 meter, there's 100 volts. At 2 meters, there's 200 volts, and it goes up from there. Okay. This is testable. This isn't theory. This is true. There's energy everywhere. And so that negative charge says, hey, down is this way. I'm not moving. You're coming to me. And it's a very weak force. Just like they say gravity. Gravity is a weak force. Okay. Down is down. And so everything starts going down, and then buoyancy and density sort everything else out. Now, some people say, there's no downward force, okay, because of gas pressure and stuff. Well, you can't have gas pressure without a container. There are, people say, well, the gas on the earth gets thinner and thinner and thinner until it's space. Well, you can't have pressure without a container of some sort. In a container, gas pressure will sort itself out. It'll be denser at the bottom and lighter at the top, but it needs a container. That container is a dome. That dome works in combination with the earth, keeps everything pressurized, and we have our gravity. Our gravity is just the electric force that attracts things down. Here's a tinfoil triangle thing that we put a negative charge into it, and bam, as soon as that negative charge is more than the earth, it goes up. Is that defying gravity, or is it defying the electromagnetic pull of the earth?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So as far as the stars and the way that they rotate, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So
what do you think the stars are? If we do have this dome, then what are we looking at, in your opinion?
In my opinion.
And is there a consensus within the community, or is there multiple theories?
We don't really, basically, as Crow 777 Radio says, the only thing that you can 100% accurately say about the things that we see in the sky is that they're lights. That's it. We don't know how big they are. We don't know how far they are. We don't know what they are. But if you start looking at stars using your own optics and not NASA's CGI optics, we see something very different. This is the star Arcturus zoomed in. Okay. Does that look like a burning ball at trillions of miles away, which is also impossible? We can prove that you can't see anything at nearly a fraction of that distance, right? This is the star Capella. What is that? Does that look like a burning ball of hydrogen trillions of miles away? Right? No. Here's the star Sirius. Kind of looks like it's underwater a little bit. Look up star in a jar, where they put sound waves into a jar of water and little stars appear in the water.
Really?
Yeah, star in a jar. Write that down.
It does look like underwater. I actually recently filmed Sirius because it was so many colors that even from my iPhone zoomed in, I got it just flashing all these lights. Right. And I was like, wow, that is beautiful.
Some of these are in focus, some are not in focus. It doesn't matter. What we're seeing is not what they're telling us it is. I mean, let's look at how far they tell us some of these things are. So they tell us the sun is gigantic and we're this tiny little dot. Okay. Right. Imagine if you're out in a little island, a little K in the middle of the ocean, you can see in all directions. And I move the sun to 1 mile above your head. The bottom of the sun is 1 mile above your head. It would fill the entire sky. Agreed? Say yes. Mm-hmm. Agreed. Right. Yeah. It would fill the entire sky. And then, so if this is the sun, you look up, this is what you're going to see. And I move the sun away. What's it doing? It's getting smaller. Why is it getting smaller?
It's further away.
It's getting smaller due to perspective. Okay.
Right.
So if I move the sun that's filling the entire sky, horizon to horizon, it was just gigantic. Just imagine looking up, seeing the entire sky, but that entire thing is the sun. And I move it 93 million miles away. It now becomes the size of a coin held at arm's length, right? Just like we see the sun. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty big reduction. It went from everything to a little circle in the sky, right? You with me? Mm-hmm. If I doubled the distance, how much smaller would it get? It would keep getting smaller, right? Well, half the size. I mean, it went from the entire sky to the size of a coin. I would call that like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1%. But you're saying if I double the distance, it would only get half as small.
Oh no, it'd be like a tiny pinpoint, maybe.
Yeah, but let's just say half as small. I'm with you. It's fine. If I made it 24 times farther, do you think you could see it?
No,
And that's scientifically
absolutely not.
provable. Absolutely not is the right answer. And we can scientifically prove that because we can calculate the angular size. The angular size at, I believe, 3 times the distance is too small for your eye to see. But I'm going to just say 24 times farther just to be sure. 24 times farther is known as 3 light hours. It would take light 3 hours to get to us from 24 times the distance. Okay? You with me? You understand what a light hour is?
Yeah. Yes.
Light hour is a made up thing. It doesn't exist, but
Is it like I thought it was a fraction of a light year.
Well, it is. It's a light year is the distance light travels in a year. A light hour is the distance light travels in an hour. You with me?
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we can scientifically prove that at 3 light hours away, you can't see the sun. It's magnitude smaller than we should be able to see it. Okay. That's at 3 light hours away. The star Polaris, they say, is about 46 times bigger than the sun. Okay. So I'd have to make it 46 times farther than that 24 times, right? To make it the same angular size. That would be 6 light days. Okay, I did the math already. 6 light days away, it's scientifically provable that you can't see Polaris. Polaris is our North Star. At 6 light days away, you cannot see
it's our
Polaris.
brightest star.
No, it's not the brightest. It's just the one it's our North Star. At 6 light days away, its angular size is way, way, way too small for us to see. And they tell us it's 430 light years away. Your mind just probably melting hearing all of these numbers. It's so ridiculous. That's like me telling you I'm holding a grain of sand in front of your eye and you can see it. I'm going to say, now I'm going to move it 50 miles away. Can you see it?
No.
A grain of sand. Can you see it 50 miles away? I don't even think that analogy is far enough, but that's how ridiculous it is. They tell us the closest star is 25 trillion miles away, 4.5 light years, 25 trillion miles. Do you know how big the number of trillion is? How long do you think 1 trillion seconds is?
1 trillion seconds?
1 trillion seconds. How long do you think it is? Take a guess.
I don't know. I have no idea.
If you guess it within a day, I'll give you $500.
Far away? How far away?
No.
1 trillion seconds?
I'm talking just how long 1 trillion seconds is. How long? How much time is 1 trillion seconds? Is it
1 trillion seconds? I would say a week. I don't know.
Very close. Very close. 31,000 years. Okay.
Oh, so close. Yes.
Yeah. 31,000 years is 1 trillion seconds. Think how big that number is. 31,000 years. Your entire family history doesn't go back a fraction of that. And that's 1 trillion seconds. Okay. I don't think the Earth was here a trillion seconds ago, to be honest. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're telling us we're seeing the closest star is 25 trillion miles away. Okay. Do you see how insanity this is? How crazy this friggin' ball deception is? And you said it before. Why the lie? The answer is because they want you to feel insignificant. They want you not to know that there's a creator. They want you to think that you're powerless. They want you to listen to them when they have no power over us. The only power the government has over us, the only power they have over us is in your imagination. Because what if everyone woke up tomorrow and goes, you know what, I'm no longer going to pay any attention to the government at all. If everyone said that at the same time, we wouldn't even know who the government was because nobody would even hear them, right? It'd be over. It'd be over.
You're speaking my language now.
Yeah, it's just in your imagination.
That makes sense, though, lie. Do you know what the time frame when they started to say that the Earth was round?
Well, they
I'm
told
trying
us
to
that
remember.
Aristophanes figured it out 2,000 years ago that the Earth was flat. I mean, the Earth was a globe, but that's just a big lie. You haven't seen my interview with Ruth. I interviewed this woman about the World's Fairs because she had been to the World's Fairs. She's 102 years old. This was in February of 2020, just before COVID. And she had such a great memory. And I said to her, I said, hey, where'd you go to school when elementary school? Knew the name of the school, kindergarten teacher. She knew everything, right? She knew the street it was on, kids in her class. And I said, what did they teach you in science about the Earth? And she looked at me, she goes, they taught me the Earth was flat.
Really?
In public school in Connecticut, not a religious school, public school. And then we found articles from other countries that, Croatia, or a woman in Croatia that said in the 1930s, they were teaching all flat Earth everywhere. Everyone knew the Earth was flat. We found newspaper articles in the early 1900s, the New York Journal, talking about teachers being persecuted for trying to teach heliocentrism. Okay. This takeover happened 100 years ago. Okay.
What?
Barely 100 years ago. Okay. They're lying to us about everything. This was a long planned, takeover of our world. It's amazing. I'm going to send you the link. You can link to this
No, I
interview.
definitely want to watch this interview. And
Yeah,
I mean, it makes perfect sense because the Nazis are the ones who came. I know that they had a big part in Antarctica, and I know that they came to the States, many of them, and started working for NASA. So if we look at some of the stuff that's going on, it's all extremely nefarious and built on, very dark things. So I don't know.
So
It
you're
just
talking
makes more
about
sense.
Project Paperclip, where they brought over
Yeah.
the Nazi rocket scientists to run our space program. Werner von Braun ran NASA. He was put ahead of NASA. True story, fake story. Okay, this is the story that they're telling us. Werner von Braun did run NASA, but there was no space race because space doesn't exist. That's all a made up story. All of the wars are bankers' wars. Okay, and it's all a show. Werner von Braun was probably an actor from Hollywood, okay, who played his part on this world stage. But Werner von Braun, before he was brought over, wrote a book called Project Mars. And it's a story about a bunch of people that went to Mars to start a colony on Mars. And the leader of that group, do you want to guess what his name was? Elon. In 1957, I think the book was written. This is what he put on the cover. This is Elon Musk's rocket that he wants to take people to Mars in. Okay. And
Yeah.
Elon tweeted a month or so ago, I want to redesign the rocket, make it pointier. Okay. Elon
The
Musk.
pictures behind.
So
Wow.
Elon Musk is a total fraud. He didn't start Tesla. He didn't start PayPal. He didn't do any of the things that he says. He's done nothing. And included in the links I'm sending you, what's going on here with my lighting? Included in the links I'm sending you is a 5-minute video that if anyone watches it, you'll see that Elon Musk is 100% fake. Everything about him.
I want to see that as well.
Yeah, you'll see
We
that.
were
It'll
literally
blow you
talking
away.
about this last night. I'm so tripped out right now. That's crazy. No,
Yeah.
and to take the name Tesla is also really messed up. Do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on Nikolai?
Correct.
Yeah.
Another one of the other, you asked me for what are some good proofs. So they tell us that the Earth is, that we're corkscrewing through space, traveling 4.5 billion miles every year away from where we were the previous year. But you know about the Georgia Guidestones, I assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Guidestones. Besides having the New World Order marching orders on them, there's a little hole. And when you look through that hole, what do you think you see? You see Polaris, the North Star. Do a time lapse, all the stars go around, right? Polaris never moves. We're corkscrewing through space that's been up for over 40 years. How the heck could Polaris still be through that hole? That's like me saying, go in a car and take a long straw and look at something in the distance and then drive, 100 miles an hour for 40 years and don't move the straw. And are you going to see the same thing through there? It's impossible.
Absolutely not.
Polaris wouldn't last there. By the time they drilled the hole, it would be gone. Okay.
Yeah.
The Georgia Guidestones prove that the Earth is flat and does not move. Do you know about the emergency landings?
No.
There's been over 16 documented emergency landings. This one is from from Taiwan to LA, right? Hawaii is right about here. This is what they show you the flight route is. But right about here, there was a medical emergency and the plane had to land. Where would you land if you were the pilot?
Hawaii?
That would be good. What about?
Or you have to land in the ocean.
Well, you got to land somewhere. You got to go to a hospital. Maybe LA, probably Hawaii would be the best. But instead, they went all the way up, thousands of miles out of the way to Alaska. And the reason is Taiwan, emergency, Alaska. Hawaii is all the way out here.
That makes sense.
Okay?
Yeah.
There's over 16 of these in this book. It's free online, 16 emergency landings proving flat Earth. But if you want the coffee table book, which I recommend, put it on your coffee table, invite somebody over. If they pick up the book, they'll be like, oh my God, I went to Ashley's house for a cup of wine and now I'm a flat earther. Okay. Anyone that picks up the book becomes a flat earther. There's no denying it.
This is it's so exciting to me, honestly, and people listening, or I know that this gets a crazy reaction, but I really don't give a shit. In reality, I think it's fascinating. And I know that there's a million more things, but I do want to connect people to resources. Can you tell me about this app?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm going to show you on the app how seasons work. And then I'm going to show you what the app really can do for you. Because if you Google flat Earth, flat Earth, you're going to get pure propaganda. You're going to get stuff for the Flat Earth Society. We're not the Flat Earth Society. The Flat Earth Society is a government-run disinformation site. So real quick, showing you the app. Let's move this. The sky is a perfect clock. If I turn on the time lapse, you'll see that the sun circles around once every 24 hours. It'll go really fast. And you'll see that the sun is kind of outrunning the moon. The moon's trying to keep up with the sun, but it can't. And the sun will lap the moon every 28 days. So the sun keeps track of the hours and the days. The moon keeps track of the weeks and the months. There used to be 13 months of 28 days, but they hijacked our calendar. And you'll see that as the sun catches up, the moon will start waning, and it basically shows you where the sun and the moon are at all times. I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to turn on the zodiac. So you have the stars, and you'll see that the sun is in the Tropic of Cancer right now. And I never understood that. How could the sun be in the Tropic of Cancer? It's moving all the time. We're spinning. It's moving because the stars are spinning at almost the same speed of the sun, except they're going a little faster. Such a little bit faster that it takes 365 times around for the stars to lap the sun. So right now, the sun's been in Cancer. It's moving out of Cancer and it'll move into Leo. It'll stay in there for about a month and it'll work its way around until it resets again next year, where all of the stars reset into the exact same position they were the year before. They never change. Okay. So here's how seasons work. Think about this. They tell us it's the tilt of the Earth. Seasons prove the Earth is flat. So this inner yellow line, the inner circle, is the Tropic of Cancer. The middle red line is the equator, and the outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn. So right now, we're in the north. The sun is close to us, and we're having our summer. Right? But we've passed June 21st, which is the solstice, and the sun is actually migrating out towards the Tropic of Capricorn. Right now in Miami, Florida, it's super hot because you watch, the sun's going to come, it's going to go right over Miami, or at least it did a couple weeks ago. Now it's starting to move farther south, right? The outer southern lands are having their winter. If I move the sun forward 6 months, it starts migrating outwards and it goes out to the Tropic of Capricorn. So there it is over the Tropic of Capricorn. Australia is having their summer because the sun is high over their head and close. We're having our winter because the sun is farther away from us. When it comes around, it's all the way down here, out here. Florida's still, it's still warm in Florida and Miami, but up here where I am in Connecticut, New York, it's cold because the sun's so far away. That's how seasons work. Makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. The whole tilted ball thing is ridiculous because if it was the little tilt of the earth that causes the sun to make the summers hot and the winters cold, how come it's not freezing every morning at sunrise? Especially in June, it should be freezing because according to the globe model, in June, we're 3 million miles farther from the sun than we are in December. Farther. That's what the globe says.
Wow.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
So you think the
whatsoever.
sun is just much So you think the sun is just much smaller and closer?
The sun is a focus point of energy. Like if you take a magnifying glass and focus a point of light, on the ground, burn things. I think that's what the dome is doing and focusing it right into the sky screen. And we're seeing this thing moving around. It's more of a projection. And the real source of the sun is within or beyond the firmament. So let me just show you what the app does real quick. And some of the resources in it. If you, again, I said, if you Google flat earth, you're going to find nonsense. Every day there's a new featured video right here. You tap the thumbnail, up comes the featured video. And the challenge I give people is watch the featured video every day for 2 weeks. And if you still think the earth is a globe, send me one proof of the globe and you win 3 Bitcoins. Okay. But you won't. You won't find any. But if you do, you have to hit this question mark right here. Hit the question mark and up come all the questions that you're going to ask. Hey, what about eclipses? If I click what about eclipses, up comes a playlist of videos about eclipses that Google will not serve you. Okay. And this will show you what's going on with eclipses and what they really aren't and how eclipses actually prove the earth is flat. What about seasons? We just talked about that. What about ships over the horizon? What about satellites and GPS? All of this stuff. If you hit the web button right there in the middle, up come all sorts of resources. Our interview will be right up here under interviews. You hit that big playlist of all the interviews I've done to get more information like this. Right here in the middle, this is the Iwaranon, the lost history of flat Earth. That one will blow your mind. Put it on your list and make sure you bring food and water because you're not going to leave. Tons of stuff. My YouTube channel, DITRH. Lots of short videos there. If you want to just dip your toes in, just start watching the videos there. You're talking about biblical stuff. Tons of biblical stuff. Even if you're anti-Bible, anti-religion, watch that stuff. It'll blow your mind. You'll say, hey, there's some truth in the Bible. And there's over 200 verses that support a flat stationary earth. If you swipe to the right, we have books, all sorts of books that you can, if you're looking for flat earth books, some kids books in there, adding more all the time. Anybody, if you have a flat earth book a book that's missing, let me know. Right there, top middle, the Iron Republic, which we talked about. Also the 16 emergency landings. Highly recommend that book. All sorts of resources there. All sorts of other stuff on here. Playlists in different languages. This is how a compass really works. Okay. East and west are circles. North and south are straight lines moving towards or away from the center. If you hit the images button, we have
what? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to show you. We have all sorts of images to, if you're trying to show people stuff, like, hey, you think we went to the moon? In this, look at this. You think you went to the moon in that? That looks like a fifth grade project. Okay.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Go ahead. What's your question?
I was just going to say, so what got you to be so passionate about sharing this information, and how has it changed your life? Like on a maybe spiritual level. I don't know if you're spiritual, but
Yeah, well, I would say that I'm very spiritual. I guess I was an atheist. I never really believed in anything. I believed in the Big Bang and I believed in evolution. But when I started trying to debunk flat Earth and prove the globe, I realized you can't. And there is no Big Bang, and this place is created. Therefore, there's a creator. So once you're in a position where you can't deny the creator, a lot of things change. Once you realize that nobody has dominion over you, everything changes. Once you realize that you have the true power, and it's only the people that are convincing you to give that up, that you're giving the power to them. They can't take your power away. So how has it changed my life? It changed it. I had a very excuse me. I had a very successful company. I walked away from it all because I realized this world is in a really, excuse me, losing my voice. This world is in a really messed up position, and we're losing all of our freedoms super fast. And if we ever get the chance to get them back, how long can we hold on to them if we don't know where we are? If our mind is in a prison spinning out of control, lost in space? And the answer is we'll never get our freedom back. So I realized this message is more important than making money, in my company, which I was doing very well. So I made this app for myself, but then people liked it. I said, I'll put it in the store. I never even put it in the store. And then I started adding more and more to it. And then I was like, you know what? It was free. I was like, it's cost a lot of money. It costs thousands of dollars a month to run this app. And so I charged $3 for it. That's it. And people love it. Just go read the reviews. It's in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. You need Android 8.0 or higher, or an iPhone 6 or better. Works on iPad. Just read the reviews and you'll become a flat earther. It's the highest rated app in both stores. Everyone loves it. And I'm adding a new feature, which you can turn on and off, that says find other flat earthers near you, and it'll show you where all the other app users in the world are. And you can message them.
Oh, I love that.
You can send a message. And again, you can set it to not so sensitive. Just say what area I'm in. Don't nail me down, right? But let's say I'm going into New York City, or I'm traveling, I'm in San Francisco or whatever. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go out down to go grab a drink, grab some food. I could turn on the app and I could look and go, hey, there's a couple flat earthers over in this restaurant. Or, hey, I'm at the beach and there's other flat earthers here. I can message them. Hey, I'm the guy wearing the backwards gray cap, Bam, new flat earthers, new friends everywhere. It's going to bring people together. It's amazing. So again,
I love that element.
Yeah, it's going to bring, there's nothing, like you're talking about how happy you are learning all this stuff. Wouldn't you be really happy to find like a dozen flat earthers near you, like people to talk to, people that would understand you? There's flat earthers.
I honestly I want to talk to anyone open-minded. That's the thing. Is this year, I've lost so many people. So many people have the same story as me, where they've lost people in their life because their minds got blown open about anything. And I want to talk to people who are curious and who can have any conversation.
Here's the thing. Yes. With flat earth, originally you'll lose some friends. That's their journey. Yeah. That's their choice. But you're going to make so many new friends. We're having a conference in South Carolina in October called Flattoberfest. I recommend anyone goes. There's a link to it in the app. Check it out. It's a 2-day music festival conference, and it's just like 400, 500, 600 flat earthers coming together, and it's really a super, super great time.
I love it. That's beautiful. Yeah, I just want everyone listening on my show to, regardless of what you believe or what you think, this is about having open and honest conversations. It doesn't hurt anyone what other people believe, and opening up your mind, you might learn something. And for me, I haven't settled on anything specifically, but I know that there's certain things in me that resonate with certain things I've learned as I've been kind of paying attention to this. And I've learned how to follow my intuition this last year. And there's little sparks that go off where I'm like, I guess the thing that comes to my mind is I feel like they've kind of told us there's no more territory to explore.
Exactly.
And it is in our nature to explore, whether it be knowledge or literally territory. And they have told us specifically what parts of our planet are off limits to us, which is absolutely absurd.
That's all there is. They put us in a pen. Like, but they put us in a pen where we can't see the walls. Okay. They abolished slavery, but made us all slaves. Okay. They told us there's nothing more, and there's way more. There's no water shortage. There's no food shortage. There's nothing. There's no fuel shortage. Oil doesn't come from dinosaurs. Dinosaurs never existed. Look into that. Okay. It's all nonsense. Oil is abiotic. The earth produces oil very fast, but we shouldn't even be burning oil because there's free energy everywhere. Tesla proved that, right? Look into the world's fairs. Watch the Iwarnon series. It'll show you about, the free energy technology that was here in the 1800s. Amazing.
I'm so excited to look at the interview with that woman, to definitely look into some of these things, because I find it fascinating. And I just so appreciate you coming on. And we're going to link everything below, and we can watch this video on your site, correct?
I will put it up on Flat Earth Dave Interviews channel. I'll send you a link after I put it up. Are you going to put it on your YouTube channel? Can you tell everyone about your...
I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have a video. So this is going to be on iTunes and all this will be on all the podcast platforms, but can you tell everybody about your podcast as well?
My podcast, we haven't been doing a lot of episodes, but it's still super relevant. Start at the beginning. Take the Flat Earth Podcast Challenge, the Flat Earth Podcast. That's the name of the podcast. Listen to 4 or 5 episodes, and you too will lose the respect of your family and friends because you'll be a flat earther. But don't worry, they'll come back because they'll eventually see. The flatearthpodcast.com. You can find everything. My YouTube channel is DITRH for the short videos. Everything's linked in the app. The app is the best way. What I tell people is it's $3 and you have it for life. It's amazing. There is a pop-up that says, would you like to subscribe for 99 cents? You don't have to. Okay. You still get everything. The pop-up only shows up once a day. There's no waiting. You can exit out. There's no ads. And it's super fun. Just read the reviews. You will love it. And that's about it. So
I love it, Dave. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, I hope everybody checks this stuff out. I think it's fascinating. And I'm telling you, some of this stuff has really resonated with me. And I love shifting my perspective. So I invite you guys to think freely and open your mind. And thank you so much for coming on.
If you think Ashley has lost her mind, claim your 3 Bitcoins. That's a good amount of money. That's like $90,000. No, it's all $100,000 right now. All right. Just claim it.
Yeah, I think we already shot that horse a while ago.
Yeah.
We're in good company. We're in good company here. But thank you so much for coming on. And I hope you get a lot of people visiting. All right, Dave.
All right. Thanks so much. See ya.
The Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock App. A dynamic new app to teach family and friends about where they actually live. The sky is a perfect clock. The sun measures the hours and days. The moon measures the weeks and months. The star constellations measure the seasons and years. 12/12 or 24-hour clock face, or go hands-free. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app with new added features. World Time. See what time it is all around the flat Earth. A true Earth compass that shows true navigation across and around the flat Earth plane. Weather. Tap for detailed local weather information. Know what phase and where the moon is at all times. Watch the sun travel between the tropics for the seasons. Select an amazing background. Add your own or have the app change it to a new one automatically every time you use the app. Add a countdown to your next big date. Learn the truth about our world with the featured video of the day. Web button for additional flat Earth related features, from the mythical curve calculator all the way to Tartaria. While talking to friends, easily pull up pictures that expose the globe lie and shine light on the flat Earth truth. Video playlists in different languages. See the real trade winds circling the flat Earth, and clean screen features. Simply click off the items you don't wish to see. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app is the best tool to show your friends and strangers how our flat Earth actually works.